Hello, welcome
Hello.
to Journey Through the Interverse. I'm really excited to be here live again. We had a week off,
Yes, we
and
did.
I hope you all had a good holiday. And Alexis, how are you at this time?
I am feeling pretty okay. The last couple weeks have been a little bit of a blur with the holidays. It's just so busy that my brain, I mean, we've talked about this today. My brain is kind of shot. I'm waiting for like the rest and recoup to start hitting. But yeah, it's been an interesting 2 weeks. I do miss being on live, so I'm glad we're here tonight because I was missing it a little bit last week when we posted our archived episode. Which, if you guys haven't checked out, check it out. It is the second part of our Sex and Dreams two-parter. It's very good. It's very fun. We had a guest, Mary, on. It was amazing. So go check that out. Anyway, how are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm feeling similar. I woke up, I don't know, I just was not prepared for the day, which is like, I have my own ritual that I like to do to prepare for the day that honestly I've only been doing it for like a couple days, but the difference I've noticed from like waking up and setting the tone for my day versus like, just waking up and I don't know, like not having
Winging it.
basically, right. Yeah. Not having the morning to myself, which is something that like really just sets like a really good vibe for my day. It's like if I can have that peace and quiet for myself when I get up, then everything is good. And, we're going to talk about how this previous, lunar cycle has been. And of course, we're in the or just coming out of the season of, Christmas and New Year's. And so on top of that, it was my daughter's birthday this year, or this year, of course, this year. In December, 2 weeks before Christmas. So December is a whole freaking thing. Then there was traveling. And so the past couple of days, I have been able to wake up when I want to, not have to get up and do things, not be expected to be anywhere. And it's been really good. So, but today was, a little bit different. And I'm just flowing with the energy. And you know what, Alexis, you and I may be even feeling like the collective energy of just like, the hangover of all the holidays and everyone just crashes, especially after New Year's. Like it could be, a pretty crazy experience New Year's Eve. And then the next day, everyone's just like a zombie. So we might be
I
feeling that.
I 100% agree with that. Not only am I feeling like this collective conscious of that, but I feel like the collective conscious of both people dreading going into the new year and people who are like super excited for going into the new year, and all of that energy is just so focused right now. And I feel like it's very just draining. And I don't know, it's weird. It's weird to be like saying, oh, it's 2025. I know
Yeah.
it's only 1 year past 24, but it's like, this is weird. I'm
Yeah.
gonna be
When you
30
think
this
about it.
year. It's
Yeah.
weird to say that, like, oh, we're in 2025.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting down and writing 2005, like in school, like it was nothing.
Yeah.
So
You and I
weird.
are both having milestone birthdays this year. I'm
Yes,
turning
we
40,
are.
you're turning 30. I didn't even think about that. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, of course I did, but not like both of us together. I'm like, "Oh yeah, this is kind of a big deal for both of us. We're entering into a new decade of life." So,
Yep.
yeah, not trying to make a big deal out of it all, just trying to, or at least not trying to hype it up. I'm excited and I'm
I'm
also not trying to
optimistic.
yeah, I'm optimistic too.
You know,
And
one of my,
so,
sorry. I was just gonna say, like, what? There's no reason for me not to be optimistic. It's just another chapter.
yeah. And, the message I've been getting right now, and actually a few weeks ago for 2025, essentially, is that we are the master creators of our reality. And I actually had a really intense meditation about that, where like I was just me separating from my limiting beliefs of, are we really the creators, can we really write our story and it, manifests in the way that we desire? Of course, like the little details are going to be different, but overall, the emotion, the feeling, um, will that really be like what we desire? And it, like, the whole concept of fate and like free will or destiny and free will and just letting go of the beliefs in it. And it really, not to make it too deep, but it really came around to just being able to let myself be happy and believing that good things can happen.
Yeah.
And I witnessed my resistance to that. And that was when I had like the emotional release that I was telling you about. And that was like a few hours from us showing up here live. So I'm like fresh in that energy. So yeah, it's a really interesting time, but it's going to be incredibly transformative and catalyzing and activating for everybody, with the astrology coming forth. So everyone hang out with us, journey with us. This is a space of really going in deep. Dream work is not really easy for all of us, even though we do it consistently, like it's a part of our lives, it still doesn't make it any easier. So,
No.
yeah.
Just to bounce off of what you were just saying about how you were looking into just like fate and free will and if things are actually going to play out. I've been having some kind of struggle similar to that, but the difference for me right now is like um cause and effect. So I know that if I do A, B, and C, that the results will be, whatever would come from that. But there's a resistance to start and a resistance. And
Mm.
that's something that I've been struggling with all year. I mean, us putting out this podcast is a huge accomplishment for both of us. For me, it's this something that I've actually worked hard to do with you and see the rewards. And it almost frustrates me that I haven't been able to do that with other things in my life, even
Mm.
routine. Like you were saying, you have morning routine and it changes your whole day perspective and how you feel. But for me, it's like, okay, now I have to get up and I have to force myself to get up because I don't know what the hell I am made of with this shit, but I cannot wake up. Like, I cannot wake up. I mean, my husband sometimes will rip the covers off of me and pull me off of the bed, and I will still like stand up with my head on the bed, like still trying to sleep. It is so difficult for me to wake up, but I
Yeah.
know that if I can get myself out of the habit of sleeping that much, that I
Mm.
can wash my face, get ready, sit down, have a cup of coffee, read a little bit, pull some cards, meditate, whatever I need to do, and then bring that with me for the rest of my day rather than the opposite, which is winging it, waking up 15 minutes too late, rushing to do anything, somehow
Mhm.
leaving the house somewhat at a reasonable time. I mean, like, I've woken up 5 minutes before I've had to leave for work, and I have left 5 minutes after I woke up. But
That's
that's
crazy. Yeah.
bad. I shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah.
So I've been dealing with this resistance of just like I know what the results are going to be, but to get myself to do
Mm.
the thing to get to that result is like I don't know, it's so hard. So I think that's definitely something that I'm going to be really working on this new year, and it's been showing up in my cards too. It's like you need
Yeah.
routine, you need to be
Yeah.
structured.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I do struggle. I mean, I have many routines and I still struggle with it. And I think what's helped me is that I will, like, yeah, the getting started is the hardest. And I will say for you personally, just knowing your astrology, I'm like that 12th house stellium is so strong. And I mean, just being so connected and immersed in the dream space and in that realm and the in between, like I see why, it's literally in your chart. And then it's Libra. And so, one, you're going to naturally, with Libra people, they're going to experience extremes. And
Mm-hmm.
also, it's a cardinal sign. So, all of those cardinal signs, there comes kind of like a challenge of getting things started, right? Because the cardinal signs essentially are like the anchors or the pillars of, or like the spokes of the wheel is a better way to visualize that, or
Mm-hmm.
conceptualize it. And so they're the ones kind of like turning the wheel. And so when it comes to getting things started, I feel, if you have either a lot of cardinal energy in your chart or a lack thereof, there could, point to that being a potential challenge. Not always, but sometimes. For me, it comes down to my Mars in Pisces, where I need to flow. And so with my routine, what's really helpful is that, because the thought of routines also kind of stresses me out, but now being a mom, I kind of have to have them. I will just work with what works. And then once it feels forced, then I don't do it anymore. Like, and then I just let it flow. And then I get sick of like not having the routine. And then, naturally I will gravitate to one of my other routines. So I have multiple routines that I can just pick and choose from. When they get boring and older, they start feeling forced, then I let it go. So I think surrender is a big one. But I will say for everyone collectively, for 2025, that getting things started, that, you know, jumping, not only like moving into your uncomfort zone or moving out of your comfort zone, but more so leaping out of your comfort zone is going to be a thing, or like pushed. I feel like it's
Yep.
more like the universe is like move or be moved. And so the reason why I'm saying this is because Aries is going to be very like activate. There's a lot of energy in Aries. There's Venus retrograde. There's going to be Mercury retrograde. There's another eclipse. There's Saturn and Neptune transiting Aries. And so wherever Aries is in our charts, that will be really stimulated. And with Aries, it is getting things started. It is like stepping, off the edge, like taking a leap of faith, being present in the moment, trusting yourself, trusting in life, and know that you'll be supported. And even if things are challenging, like you're always going to be good. Right. And I think that's going to be a major, major lesson. So, Alexis, later on, I can share more about Aries in our chart because it's right on top alignment with what you're bringing up here. But we'll talk about that another time. So in this episode, friends, we are going to be reflecting on the previous moon cycle. So we mentioned this last new moon, which is a Sagittarius new moon. It was December 1st. We weren't live December 1st, but it was shortly around that period. And we decided to do a dream share every month. And the dream shares are going to be reflections of how our dream space has been for the previous lunar cycle. So we just had that amazing, powerful Capricorn new moon, aka dark moon, second moon of December. And so now we're in that beautiful cycle, but we're going to naturally reflect, look into the mirror, the dark mirror, and reflect on our dream space. So that's what we're going to be doing here tonight. For those of you who are watching us live, and even if you're watching, or listening to the replay, feel free to comment. If you could describe your dream space this year in a few words, what would they be? So go ahead and leave that in the comments. And I think we already kind of talked about the cosmic climate, but I did want to say a little bit more about this week specifically, if that's okay. And then it'll
Absolutely.
probably work its way into our conversation. And I know this is the beauty of listening to us live, because sometimes if you listen to us live, you'll catch like the live dreams and astrology. So you can, kind of catch that wave and be in alignment with it or work with it if you desire. But it's totally amazing too if you hear about it afterwards and then you reflect on what happened in your dream space. So what I want to point to for this week, and we are recording this, we're live here January 1st of 2025. So happy New Year, everyone.
Oh, I completely forgot it was the first
I
of
forgot
January.
to.
Happy New Year, everyone. I hope that 2025 brings lots of happiness, joy, abundance, health, and wealth to all. And yeah, I can't believe I forgot it was January 1st.
Right, I did until I was like, oh yeah, today's date. So what I want to point to is that today the moon and Pluto had a conjunction in Aquarius. And this happened pretty early in the morning here. I think it was like 7:30 a.m. Eastern time. And so I always like to point to conjunctions made by Moon and Pluto in transit, and also when one of them are making a connection or an aspect with your natal planets. That's a really usually a potent time in reference to your dream space, maybe something coming up like a reveal for you. Maybe you might have, some sort of profound dream, whether it's like precognitive or a nightmare or just something kind of weird and fringy, which is kind of the dream I had this morning. But I just wanted to point that out as something to pay attention to, especially because Pluto is freshly in Aquarius. And now we're going to start to unravel what is coming forth within this Aquarius part of our lives, and what role Pluto has with that, or what Pluto is kind of like slowly distilling. I don't know if that's the right word, but basically slowly illuminating for us.
Mm-hmm.
And then also the moon will make an opposition to Mars retrograde in Leo. And I'm pointing this out because very shortly after that, Mars retrograde will make an opposition with Pluto. And so Mars, Pluto, and Moon are having these connections this week. And the frame of time, like the frame of reference for this, is Wednesday, January 1st up until Friday, January 3rd. And so really pay attention to your dream space. If you want to, work with this energy, you can do that. You can do dream incubation, as we always mention here, or just ask something of the dream space, or just, make a point to, you know, um, enact your bedtime routine, your bedtime ritual, and put a little bit more effort into, recording your dreams. So that's the one thing I wanted to point out. I feel everything else, as far as, the cosmic climate, the astrology, the energy, I think we kind of spoke a lot to already. So did you want to add anything, Alexis?
No, I'm probably going to take the time tonight and tomorrow night to dream incubate and set up my ritual, my routine for the night, because that's something that I want to bring back into the new year, is having a nighttime routine, even if it's as simple as having my cup of tea and like winding down without my phone, just to get back to that place of relaxation and meditation before bed. And I know that I do a meditation as I go to sleep. It just kind of like, basically, like when I close my eyes, I look at the shapes and the colors that are behind my eyelids, and it kind of just like watching that movement creates a strong meditation for me into my sleep, which is
Mm.
helpful. But I feel like I just need a little bit more right now, and I do really enjoy having that nighttime routine. So I'm definitely going to do some incubation and routine for the next couple days, if not for most of 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it'd probably be a little bit easier for all of us now, since the holiday stuff is over, and we can just really embrace the stillness of winter and Capricorn season. Even though Capricorn, I've said this before with Capricorn, it's like Capricorn literally needs to have its season in winter, because Capricorn is like go, 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 like all work, no play, like let's be productive and be on top of things. And it's like nature is literally like, okay, Capricorn archetype, Capricorn folks, like you need to rest, like take the time to rest. And so it just all makes sense. So I'm really looking forward to this winter season, and to be present and still for a lot of, this period of time. So I'm excited to see how the dream space will unfold.
Me as well. Me as well. And hopefully I can use you as an accountability partner. I'll
Yeah,
just like
both
start
of us.
really going ham on my voice messages to you again. Because even
Right.
like I sent you the dream that I had yesterday, and I was like, this thing happened like this and this was this, but it wasn't like detailed like I usually do. So
Yeah.
like that'll definitely help too.
Yeah. Ashes to Ashes is here in the comments, says Happy New Year, peace and love. Let's go. Let's freaking go.
Yes.
2025. Let's do it. All right. So Yeah, let's reflect on this previous lunar cycle. And so we are referring basically from new moon to new moon. And the cycle that we're going to discuss is began on December 1st and ended basically December 30th, December 29th. This is pretty much the bulk of December, which makes it kind of easy to, just reflect on, okay, how was our dream space for December as a whole? How is our connection and relationship with dreams, our unconscious self? What was going on? And so, and again, I invite you all to kind of describe your dream space. Like you can describe it for this year, but sometimes that can be a lot. So if you want to also focus just on the past month, the month of December, definitely feel free to share with us there, share with us in the comments. We would love to engage with you all. So Alexis, I'll let you start. How was your dream space for December?
So my dream space from last new moon to this new moon has been very odd. I feel very disconnected. I feel almost like, so when I generally dream a lot, I don't really feel like I go to sleep. And this past new moon to new moon, I almost feel like my entire being needed to be shut off a little bit. And so I've been really disconnected, barely able to grasp bits and pieces of what my dreams have been like. However, where that has been empty in my unconscious, I've been having a lot of daydreams where I will randomly have old dreams downloaded, like much more consistently than usual. I mean, dreams anywhere from when I was like really little to teenhood to working at different jobs, and just the most random dreams that I forgot I had prior to this popping up. So I'm feeling as though it was a way for me to examine certain lessons that I may have left off on and didn't really take into consideration, or may have regressed a little bit from learning. And I find that intriguing and interesting because when I think of dreaming, I usually exclude daydreaming. Not purposefully, but just like in my head, I just kind of like don't think about it. But it's really, my daydreams with my previous dreams have been consistent, and that in itself, I'm curious about, especially with the astrological aspects over this last new moon and new moon, and what may have been contributing to that. But yeah, it's been a little frustrating. I was only able to write down one dream. It was on 12/8/24, so December 8th. And it's funny because you and I both wrote down our one dream on that date, which is really, I'm like, really want to know what the astrology was
we're
like,
gonna look into it.
because
Yeah.
it's so odd that, because you and I both, if we're not writing down our dreams, we're sharing them with each other.
Mm-hmm.
But it's been like a real weird month where like
That's been even, it's been even hard to really share dreams. Like we haven't even been sharing as much as we usually share. Even, besides from like recording it and then sharing with each other, but like everything has been kind of like just distant and hard to like, grasp.
Yep.
Because it's like literally like you mentioned in the beginning of our chat, how, waking up and it's just like, as soon as you wake up, you got to do this.
Yep.
And so that, the dream goes on the back burner.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm curious if, those of you listening had a similar experience with this month when it comes to your dreams, just because the nature of the month, it's like, there's so many gatherings, especially from like Thanksgiving up until this time of year, because, as soon as Thanksgiving's over, then you got to prepare for Christmas, and, everyone's stressed about gifts and travel and who's going to do what and who's going to be where. And so everything is literally unrested, which is it's like so against nature. Like we're stepping into the season of rest. We're going into more and more quiet times, and it's like every year we have to like step into that like with a bang. You know what I mean? So I think it's, yeah, first of all, you guys, like, we didn't realize we both had one dream in our dream journal. We both recorded one dream, and then we had no idea up until we were sitting here about to record or about to go live that we both had one dream on December 8th. So I'm
Yep.
definitely going to like look into the astrology for that. Um, or were you still sharing, or are
Well,
you?
I figured we'd both share our dream. Did you want
Yeah.
me to go first? You want to go?
Yeah, well, I'll just share how my space has been this month. And, it's similar to yours, the same thing where, for me, like I mentioned, there's so many things happening in December that I just didn't have the time to wake up and record my dreams. Or even like if I don't wake up and record them all the time, I will sit there and like dwell on them for a bit.
Yes.
And then later on in the day, I can record them. But I didn't have that this month. And like between being sick and birthdays and all and Christmas and all the things, like in travel, today was the very first day where I felt rested, and I was committed to writing this dream. And it was really hard because I knew when I write dreams, I told Alexis this morning that like I write them. Like it was 8 pages. I can't skip a beat, and I write it like a story. It's freaking annoying, but it's amazing when I go back and read it the way I write.
Yes,
So, because I thought
absolutely.
about, I was like, oh, maybe I'll type it in my phone, or maybe I'll use the voice note, or and I was like, no, you're gonna sit your ass down, get some coffee. That email can wait, so and so can wait. You can check Instagram later, you know, um, and just sit there and write the dream. So I'm glad. So I'm starting out January 1st, this new cycle. I'm starting out pretty good, but we're here reflection. And so yeah, it was been a real struggle. So yeah, let's go ahead and let's read our dream. Let me just I'm gonna pull up the astrology for, what do we say, December 8th,
Yep.
and see what the heck was going on that day. And then, but do you want to go ahead? You go ahead and start sharing yours as so people don't have to wait
Are you
while I'm
sure?
looking. Yeah.
Okay.
Um, it won't take long, but all right, I guess I'm already here, December 8th. So it would probably have been that the night before into the morning, right?
Yes.
So let me start with December 7th. The moon was in Pisces,
Okay.
making a conjunction to Saturn. And so this was like a week after, almost, yeah. So this was like a first quarter moon. So it was basically a week after the new moon in Sagittarius. Let's see what else was going on. Yeah, so I think that's the biggest thing. And when she's in Pisces, I mean, she's already in a very dreamy place,
Mm-hmm.
and Neptune's there. And yeah, oh, Venus also, I will say Venus was conjunct Pluto at that
Okay.
time in Aquarius. So Venus and Pluto were connected, Moon and Saturn were connected, Mercury was retrograde. Yeah, okay. And let's see if anything major the next day happened. So see any different bigger shifts, but nope. So that looks like that's what stands out to me. Cool.
Perfect. And just so you guys know, Urania and I have our charts kind of like on the same dial. Is that what you
Yeah,
would say? Like
yeah. They're aligned the same way.
yeah, they're
We're
aligned the
both
same.
Scorpio risings. Yeah.
Yes. So it's really fun that we can just kind of like look and see where certain things are happening in different houses because they're
Yeah.
the same. So we don't have to do extra work.
It's easy. Okay. So you want to go ahead and read your dream?
Yeah, sure. All right. So again, I had this dream December 7th to December 8th. Um so I was in a weird dimly lit home. I was living in I was living with several other people. The house was kind of shabby, chilly, and the rooms felt like cubby holes in the wall. And it was kind of in juxtaposition, like everything was kind of oddly placed. And when I say shabby, I mean it felt like we were all squatting. Like It was old wood exposed, dust everywhere, like garbage kind of strewn about. Nobody was really paying attention to how the house looked. It was just like a place for us to be.
Mm.
There was, so someone I know was also living there, and they were in trouble. I don't, they didn't, it didn't express why they were in trouble at that moment. But I do know that she had disappeared purposely to avoid reaping the consequences of her actions. In the meantime, a mutual friend came to visit this home that we were all staying in because of their concern with this person.
Mm.
We noticed that her animals were left and were neglected and dirty and malnourished, and they were like, they were rats. And we were both kind of like in concern about these animals, but also the fact that she had disappeared. I decided to take a breath. Now I'm lucid in the dream. So I was like, this is a little stressful for me. I'm going to go for a walk. So I started walking down the street, and it was like really foggy. It was kind of chilly, so foggy that you had a hard time seeing in front of you. Um, and it felt very like fall-esque. And even though I couldn't see in front of me and it was really eerie, there was a sense of like comfort that was coming to me from this environment. I went for a walk to clear my mind. It was chilly and my hands were in my pockets to keep warm. I looked around me and there was an eerie feeling in the air, but also a strange sense of comfort. So yeah, like what I had just mentioned. Um, Finally, I arrived at a graveyard, which was gated by a half-height wrought iron fence. There were a handful of people hanging around, and they were deceased and semi-translucent. None of them frightened me. They just had semi-neutral energies and minded their business for the most part. However, one of the men in the graveyard, who was obviously undead, ghosty like, began to speak to me. And though the energy of what he was saying seemed extremely important, I couldn't make out any of the messages. And he was different from the rest of the spirits among the graveyard. He felt otherworldly, like he was outside of me, from outside of the dream, like a visit. And then as I was trying to collect the messages from what he was saying, like trying to zone in and hear it more intensely, just like grasp it, I woke up.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. So one thing I'll also add to the astrology of that day, December 8th, is the day that Neptune stationed direct, meaning Neptune ended its retrograde cycle in Pisces. Neptune is absolutely a dream planet. And sometimes I forget to focus on that, to be honest, when I'm like looking at the moon and Pluto, I'm like, oh, duh, the moon and Neptune, or Neptune in itself. And so whenever Neptune stations, like whether it is, I feel like whether it's beginning its retrograde cycle or ending its retrograde cycle, it has this like process of like the fog clears for a minute, right? Especially at the end of the cycle, like you go through this whole disillusionment of, like the past like 4 or 5 months that it had been retrograde, and you're like, oh my gosh, okay, like I can see clearly. I kind of can start to get the understanding of what's going on here. And so, with that to say, when you mentioned just like the semi-translucent beings, right? Like they were kind of, and they were undead, they were otherworldly figures. And like for whatever reason, I perceive that, and this is just my perception of like being able to like perceive people's energy, whether it's like a specific person in your life or just could point to just energy or beings in general, like you are being able to like see through some sort of veil, like if they're in hiding or if like just like through what is like the physical, you're seeing beyond that and seeing almost like their truth or their energy, so to speak. And so it's really interesting because like that can also speak to some sort of like, spiritual activation or like some sort of, it would be clairvoyant, like that kind of, that going through some sort of clearing and activation. Because, and the reason why I really like think about that is, in addition to like the whole Neptune and that spiritual connection, but also, it was really interesting that the auditory aspect hasn't really fully come yet.
Mhm.
And like you couldn't really hear that. And so it's like you're connecting with these otherworldly type beings, and you're able to kind of see and pierce through like the physical nature of it, but like the hearing part hasn't come through. So it could almost represent like that's still going through clearing, but your psychic seeing it, your energetic seeing is opening up. And like next, maybe like the hearing element, like the clair
Mhm.
audience, I think is what it's called, is coming through. So that's my own little like
No,
woo.
I find that interesting. And you just saying like the fog clearing up with Neptune going into like out of its retrograde direct, that's what happened. Like I was walking through down this foggy street. When I got to the graveyard, the fog had dissipated from that area. So I found that really interesting. And it wasn't necessarily that I couldn't hear him. It
Mm-hmm.
was more so like he was speaking like a language that I've never heard before,
Mm,
or like
yeah. Yeah.
speaking English, but my brain wasn't translating, like wasn't
Yeah.
properly translated. Like I could hear him speaking, but it wasn't, nothing
Yeah.
was coming through. It was very, very odd experience. And I almost feel like when we look back at the home that I was living in, what do houses represent? The houses represent our psyche, like ourselves, thinking about like this neglected space. I almost feel like with how much was going on and still going on, I was in a state of neglect with myself. And I feel like I have, for like the last month and a half, I feel like I've been so distracted that my inner world has been neglected. I have not really been doing as much as I need to do for myself, and I'm very aware of it. And just that aspect of that house that I was living in being so dusty and broken down and dirty, it really feels like a reflection of like what I needed to focus on. And like
Mm,
maybe when I start giving my psyche the attention it needs, I'll be able to hear those messages that I was missing.
yeah, that's a good point. And also I'm thinking about too, just because I know your chart, you have so much like Libra in your chart. And I think it's really also impactful that Venus, like Venus being the planetary ruler of Libra, made that conjunction to Pluto, and also in Aquarius where your moon resides. So there's
Mm-hmm.
just like there's so many things. It makes sense that like it like yeah, you would this would be the one dream that you would record.
Yep.
It really makes sense in that regard because you kind of knew just intuitively that this was a significant dream. So
Well, and even just thinking about it now, sitting here with you talking about it, I'm realizing, maybe that's why I've been so inactive, not being able to be experiencing my dreams and remembering them the way that I want to, is because I've been neglecting my psyche. And I didn't break it down to that specific understanding until now, and now I'm realizing that that might have been a big reason why I was experiencing these dreams so um thinly, like not really grasping them. I'm not doing what I need to do for myself.
yeah,
How can I get new messages if I can't get the old messages because of the neglect I've been doing?
yeah,
It's really eye opening to sit here and talk about it now, because I didn't even think about that beforehand.
yeah. I know that's a really good point too. And I was even thinking, just with the house being dusty and kind of, like it seems like all of that stuff is like breaking down, like all of those old aspects, those old beliefs within your psyche, or just like pathways of the way you perceive and think about things, like all of that's breaking down. And like that breaking down is going to make things clear, like, or it's like, give attention to this so you can start clearing up, everything. Yeah.
Absolutely. No, that makes total sense. I feel like after this live, I'm probably gonna sit and write a little bit about that, because my
Yeah.
brain is now just like sparking.
Yay. I love it.
So, do you want to go now? You want to tell us your
Yeah,
dream?
yeah.
I'm
So
excited.
I'll read mine, and I honestly, this is a short one. My dreams, and so I wasn't. Yeah, this was like, oh, I gotta write this down real quick. It's only 2 pages. Um, so okay, I haven't even read over this. I just saw your name, Alexis. So I don't know what that's about. Okay. All right. So yeah, this was December 8th. And yeah, I wrote a first quarter moon in Pisces. I was on my moon cycle on this day. So I was on my period pretty much at the end of it though. Okay. So as of lately, my dreams have been slipping away pretty easily. What I can remember from this morning is the dream revolved around me preparing for a wedding. It was nothing elaborate. It was as if I was just waiting for the day to come. It was right around the corner and I was looking forward to it. I was marrying an ex of mine. I'm not going to say his name, but I was marrying an ex who we're on good terms. So, like, we're friends and everything. And this was an ex from like almost 20 years ago. So, anyways, I worked and lived at this place. I got a glimpse of my dress. It was black and short, sheer with a black corset that went with it. It was to be a non-traditional wedding. The place I lived and worked was a community type place. There were many of us who lived there, including Alexis. At one point, there were animals in the space who also lived with us. There were mostly small dogs and small like cats. There was one white shaggy dog that was so cute. It had a smaller version of her. It had a smaller version of her that I saw her pull closer to her like a mom. So the dog pulled the little dog closer to her, like she was talking. Alexis told me that she is the mom and she has two babies. One was the one I saw her with, and then I recalled seeing another baby puppy that looked like her. She is gray and white. That's it.
Oh,
What I will say about the rest of the dream, or what I can remember, because I do remember this dream now, is that this is why it's good to write your dreams, because I completely forgot about this fucking dream, and it was actually a really good dream. Now I'm like, oh yeah, this was an amazing dream. But from what I remember, the overall feeling of the dream was it was like this preparation feeling, and it felt good. And like, yeah, it was just like it was weird because I was living in, like I said, community. And it was just like, oh, like I'm gonna be getting married soon to like one of my friends. And it was like no big deal, but there was excitement and there was like, but it was busyness. And so yeah, that was pretty much the dream.
I love that dream. I remember you telling me about that. And now that we're going over it, immediately my brain brings up, okay, you were pulling Two of Cups a lot during this cycle. A lot.
Yeah, that's
And we were
crazy.
talking about it, and we had talked about how this doesn't seem like it's something to do with relationships with other people, but relationships with ourselves. Like
Mhm.
maybe the merging of our external and internal, or maybe like the light with your shadow, or just merging with a new part of yourself that you've never met before. When it comes to marrying your ex, I didn't take that as literally. I kind of almost took it as like maybe parts of yourself that came out when you were with your ex,
Mm.
um, whether it be good or bad or whatever feelings, merging with almost maybe even that being the shadow aspect or the light aspect, and kind of just like merging into this new chapter of understanding yourself.
Mm.
I feel like having the support and community was reflective of like where you may be right now with your community. You might be feeling that that love and like that high energy from the people that you interact with. And then the mom pulling the puppy closer, it almost felt like a reflection of like you and Sidori.
Yeah. That was like, I can feel the sweetness of that. Like, I remember it was so cute. I'm like, oh my gosh, they're so cute.
I love that.
I think what I'm thinking too is it's interesting because with this ex-boyfriend, one of the things, and it was like actually a memory that was coming up recently, uh, that when we were together, I had, and this is about to take a totally different turn, so sorry. But there's some shadow parts coming up. But
Mhm.
basically, when I was with him, when we were dating, like a very traumatic thing happened in my life where I had lost a really special person in my life, my god sister. And I remember, I will never forget. Like I was at his house. I don't know if we had just started, like I don't think we were just started dating. We were definitely a couple, but we weren't like living together or anything yet. So I was like sleeping over his house. And I remember, I think it was like early in the morning, I got a phone call that she had got like, she passed away, like she got killed or whatever. And so it's really interesting that that came up in my dream. And then during the Christmas holiday, I was home visiting my mother and my god sister's mom and her kids and her grandkids, like, obviously our other kids, they were all there. And my god sister, when she had, like, right when she passed away, she had an I think it was like an infant, or she wasn't older than one. She was there and I hadn't seen her in like a really long time. She was 17. She's 17 now, and I hadn't seen her. I think she was like 7 or something like that. So it was crazy. And she looked just like my god sister, like pretty much the last time I remember seeing her. And the way her daughter, my god sister's daughter, like was magnetized to my daughter was like crazy. And it, like, I had a very strong emotional release. So now reading this, um and I feel like with that emotional release, it was sad, but it was also like releasing, like I felt so much lighter after it because I hadn't really processed a lot of that loss. And so I just had this feeling like that dream almost kind of like gave me a heads up that I'm coming more into union with myself and like healing these parts of myself. Like you were talking about the shadow parts integrating with, like, the lighter parts, and having the support, because I knew, like, I had the people in my life that I could share that with. And they, like, even though I just met some of you, like it was like, you get it. Like you've been on this journey with me. And so it's like, the preparation for the marriage and the union and all of that, and like specifically you, Alexis, like being there just was like so critical in the way my life is unfolding. And just like you were one of the first people I had to tell, because you understood, what, that meant for me to have that release and that experience. And so I think that the dream kind of like why I wouldn't have initially made the connection. I actually forgot about this dream. Like coming back to it, I was like, oh shoot, like, okay, I kind of get a sense of where this is going too. Um, so yeah, it wasn't about, I mean, it's about relationships, but not like romantic, like, oh, I'm gonna be getting married. It wasn't like that. It was definitely about just like parts of myself that have been fragmented coming together into union, and being able to have that, like you said, have that support around me, like through that journey. And it's like I'm in preparation for, maybe what's to come in 2025 and moving forward.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I felt that really strongly. And, for those who are listening, like, I'm sure you understand, and I'm sure most people understand this, but for those who have a hard time with this topic, grief is something that will continuously show up in your life. Like, you'll think that I don't want to say gotten over, because that's not a very it's just not a good word for it, but you think that you've moved forward from it, and then all of a sudden certain aspects will come forward, whether they are good or bad, like whatever it invokes in you, it'll come forward and almost like take your breath away with how intense it can be. So when you were talking about that, and how you interacted with her daughter, and how her daughter interacted with your daughter, and just how much emotion that brought up, I do feel like that was a preparation,
Mm.
for this moment. um and that release is huge.
Yeah. The dream space. This is what I'm telling you. Like, it's like, and not you, Alexis, I know you get it, but, and I know you all listening get it, but it's like,
No, it
it doesn't matter how much you
surprises
do
you.
it. It just is like, it's so just profound and transformative. You could be doing this all your life, and it's just yeah, it's always, it never ceased to amaze me, you know. with how
Seriously.
profound and transformative it can be, and just like beautiful ways the way the dreams and stories, unfold.
And the interconnectedness with your waking self and your dream self are so interesting. Like the way you're conscious and you're unconscious. I mean, even me, um, not really involved in the dream space like I would like to be like within the last cycle, but these memories of dream lessons coming up into my head constantly. Like it's so interesting the way that it comes through. Oh, and while we were talking about this, one of my dreams from this cycle sparked. And I didn't remember the whole dream, but I remember specifically that I conjured you into my dream.
Oh yeah. No.
So I was at this incredibly beautiful, huge, like Egyptian, like building, and inside it there were just all these like beautiful sculptures, and it was incredible. And I remember, and I was like, I got to take some screenshots of this, and I like blinked my eyes a few times, but then I was like, wait, why don't I just call in Urania, because I wanted to show her the photos, but it would be so much cooler if she could see it herself. And I like conjured you in, and then I woke up.
That's so awesome. I love that. And I love that. You know what I love about dreams is that when your conscious mind, like you can see how it's all connected, because it's like you think about that stuff. Like you think about me, or like, oh, I know exactly who would enjoy this. Oh my gosh, Urania needs to be here, which is something that would happen in waking life if you were in a space like that. But of course, we don't have the power just to be like, hey, teleport here right now, like come, like summons me, unless we have, just like a endless infinite surplus of money. But no, I love that. And that kind of awareness, comes with that really strong continuous dream work, and like bridging the unconscious with the conscious. And so I love when you have those moments of lucidity where you're like, oh yeah, let me just do this. You know what I mean? So I really
Absolutely.
appreciate that you made that
I wanted you to see it. So if I could like actually conjure you into my brain to show you what I saw, it would be like
Yeah.
I'm like, oh God, I wish I could show her. And I wanted to bring one thing up too before we continue. For those of you who don't remember your dreams very well and don't know how to lucid dream, um, this process for those that it doesn't come naturally to can be extremely difficult. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because I follow dream chat, like dream groups on Reddit. And I saw someone maybe like a week ago, saying that like they're really frustrated with when they ask people who are already naturally dreaming how to go about it. And like they kind of downplay how difficult the process to learning can be. And as someone who has the ability to do it naturally and has tried to do it with method, it is extremely difficult and it takes time. And if this is something that you're looking into doing, please, please, please give yourself grace and time and patience, and allow it to come to you with whatever extension of time it needs. You may not have remembered your dream, or you may not be lucid in your dream the day you start practicing. I know this is random, but it just came to me. I saw this and I was like, I really do sympathize with people who are frustrated with the process of it. It will take time, but be patient. I know that was so random, but like I just had to like say that for our
No, that's really,
listeners.
really important. I'm glad that you did, because I think also something that would be helpful too is like how we're, just reflect um on your waking life, and how do you like either live your waking life or go about um just like with your mental processes during your waking life. For me, when it comes to, I think for me it was a little bit easier once I actually like made my mind up of like, I'm going to do this and this in my dreams. It was easy for me to do it because I already kind of do stuff like that in waking life. Like I set intentions, I do like the rituals, and I just have a very structured like way of being. So it made sense that it would be easy to kind of replicate that in my dream space. But maybe you're someone that goes with the flow, or maybe, you know, there's so many different ways that you can experience those kind of the dream experiences that you desire. I mean, mainly like in the lucid dream realm.
Yeah.
And like you said, it just takes patience and time, because if I'm not personally, if I'm not focused on like, oh, I'm going to do this lucid dream practice and journey. And I'm like, when we were facilitating circle and we're talking about lucid dreams a lot, I was lucid dreaming a lot, but now I haven't been doing that, you know, very intentional practice. So it doesn't happen as often. Like it's not necessarily rare, but I have to put in a little bit more work versus like Alexis, where it just comes naturally, you know? So yeah, I think that was a good point.
Yeah, thank you. I just, again, it's one of those things where I just feel I don't want people to give up if it's not immediate. And I also want them to know that you are doing something very difficult. It's like learning another language. It's hard. But yeah, it's definitely, even for someone like me who naturally lucid dreams a lot, this past month was really difficult for me. Not having the ability to hold on to as many dreams as I usually can, and not being like fully lucid in my dreams. It's been really frustrating. So I completely get it.
Yeah. All right. So, oh, what's going on with my voice? I should drink some water. Who was that? So we're gonna wrap it up here with with some oracle cards for the next lunar cycle. But I just want to share the comments that Ashes to Ashes had for us. And thank you so much for sharing in the comment section. We really appreciate the engagement, because we like this to be an open conversation. And so Ashes to Ashes has said, I've been doing polyphasic sleep all month to try and be awake as much as possible to finish art pieces.
Ooh.
Extremely heavy cannabis usage to say goodbye to it after 20 years of abuse in my resolution. These two things, I believe, dim the length and clarity of my dream space, but I'm greatly looking forward to dreaming in the coming months as the bud gets out of my system. And I had to look up polyphasic sleep to see what that was. And basically it's a sleep pattern that involves multiple short sleep episodes throughout the day instead of one long sleep period. So
Mm.
yeah, I could see how that could have that type of impact on your dream space. And also at the same time, for whatever reason, I guess what should I even call him? I mean, he's considered to be like the sleeping prophet. His name is Edgar Casey, right? So
Mhm.
and I know a lot of people would a lot of other I guess practitioners or other people that did dream work would put themselves in the hypnagogic state, which is kind
Mhm.
of like that. Like you get right to your like REM sleep, right? And then you wake yourself up and like you're kind of in that like in between space. And so I know those in between spaces, like if you're like waking yourself up and going to sleep and waking yourself up, they can like really induce like really interesting dreams, weird dreams, I'm sure, and experiences. But then to have to do like some sort of like activity or art or something, I don't know, I could see how you still don't have the time to focus on, you know, like the dreams. Like it's all about, you know, what's your intention when doing these kind of practices, I think, and how that would
Absolutely.
influence your dreams.
We really should do an episode on like weed and dreaming, or like
Yeah.
substances and dreaming, because I
Yeah.
do find it interesting that some people it like causes them to have no dreams at all, and other people it doesn't affect their dream space in that way. Like I've been smoking since I was 14, and I have pretty intense dreams
Mm-hmm.
still. But then a lot
Yeah.
of people I talk to, they're like, no, when I smoke weed, I don't dream at all. So it is very interesting, and I'd like to dive deeper into that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like last night I was actually really surprised because I had a great deal of wine. And I think I smoked. But in for me, like I have most of my profound dreams where I can remember them, they happen in the morning anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So but yeah, I had a really very vivid dream and I was able to record it. But sometimes, yeah, if like you're unrested, like I know if I do have too much to drink and I just like I can't really drop into a deep sleep and it's hot most of the time because it's like hot, I'm waking up, whatever.
Yeah,
So then I don't really rest easily. And so that will definitely influence my dreams. But
absolutely.
yeah. Ashes to Ashes says, Da Vinci would sleep with the ball in his hand. So as he slipped to sleep, the ball would fall and wake him up and he'd have great creativity. Yes, I think I heard about that.
Yes, I've remembered that, and that's really interesting. I would absolutely try doing that, like myself. The only
Yeah.
thing is like, will I actually wake up? Because I know
Right. That
myself,
would be a good
and
test for you because it's hard to get you
yes,
up. So
yeah,
like for me, I think that's one of the things, the in-between space, the hypnagogic state is like kind of like a comfort zone, or I wouldn't say a comfort zone, but I frequent it often.
yep.
But for me, that space is kind of like scary, where it's like I'm not
Mhm.
even up though. For me, it's like I haven't even woken up yet. So that's the space where I will encounter spirits that are like close in my home, or I'll have sleep paralysis, or just like weird things happen when I'm in that in between space. So I'm just like, but
Yeah,
I want to read, actually, this is reminding me that I want to read more into Edgar Casey and just like what will come through for him and his practices, because he has a whole community that still carries on his legacy even now and his practices. And so, and there's a lot about dreams too. And so I'm curious of what was coming through, because he was helping a lot of people with like he was basically giving readings while in that in between space, and
wow,
for people's like health, like people with health concerns and things like that. Like he was basically doing psychic readings from the hypnagogic state.
that's crazy.
It
I'm
was
gonna have to look
incredible.
more into him
Yeah, I'm
as
gonna have to
well.
share. There's actually a lady, I think she was like one of his apprentices, like he was her teacher or something, but she was awesome. Like the kind of dreams she would have that, just very precognitive type dreams that were very helpful, in the way she just so matter of fact about like certain things, especially the connection to her dream space. I can't remember her name, but I felt really connected with her, and I came across her right when I started doing like the live chats about dreams and stuff. So
Maybe we'll do an episode covering him too.
yeah, we
I
should
think
do an episode on Edgar
we
Casey.
should.
Yeah, stay tuned for that. I'll have to share some stuff with you, Alexis, and it's really cool. All right, so anything else before we pull some oracles from you, Alexis? Oracles from both of us, but anything else you want to share?
No, I'm ready to pull and get this message for 2025.
Yeah. All right, so we'll see whoever's card comes first.
Oh, I shuffled. I'm just gonna pull off the top.
Oh, okay, you go. And
All
I'll
right.
start shuffling mine and see what comes out.
Okay. So this is patience.
Oh, wow.
um, so the phrase on the card itself is it's okay to take your time to flourish, which is so funny because also it's 18, and if we're gonna go by numerology, 1 plus 8 is 9. 2025 is 9. The number for 2025 is 9. So very interesting. So here is the interpretation for patience. It's okay to take your time to flourish. We all flourish and bloom at different rates, and none are better than the other. All are completely perfect. Your journey to flourishing is completely perfect too. It's okay to take your time, to be patient and loving with yourself. You cannot rush nature, and you are a part of nature, a rare flower that requires patience and love. Ask yourself, where in life am I rushing? Is rushing benefiting me in any way? And how can I slow down? Well, that adds up.
'Tis the season,
Is the freaking
and the
season.
conversation, and
Yes.
the insert that you just, put in there. I feel like the universe, divine, is just kind of affirming what you spoke about with the patience, with the dream space.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Be patient. We all need to be patient with ourselves. And I feel like maybe that is what the message for this year is supposed to be is like, be patient. Don't set your expectations too high for yourself or the people around you. Let things happen as they're supposed to.
Yeah. All right. So you guys probably aren't familiar with the way I pull cards. I just shuffle, let them fall out. So I got two cards. So we're just gonna go with it because I couldn't really I resonated with both. So the first one is Grace, and this is the herbal astrology oracle deck. So there's astrology and there's, herbs. So the first one is Shisandra. Oh my gosh, I hope I didn't butcher this. The keyword is Grace. I'll just show you guys.
Ooh. That
And
sounds right.
just I don't it's like a tongue twister for me right now. The astrology with this card is Jupiter and Venus. And so this to me, just the image looks like the temperance.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So it's about healing and alchemy and transmutation, but I'll just glance at here the guidance. So yep, very first thing, like the temperance card in the tarot, the goddess holds a cup of water representing the subconscious as she crosses over a stream of water representing the conscious mind. Shasandra's medicine teaches us about the high alchemy of beauty, grace, and the harmony of dualities. Swan is here today to remind you of the supernatural powers that you have within. Don't deny your innate and intuitive mastery. Follow your visions and pay close attention to the subtle language in your body and surroundings. If you feel out of orbit or aloof, make time to ground. Grounding will only facilitate your development to a higher consciousness. So that is, I love that as far as
I
like
love that.
bridging it's literally speaking of bridging the conscious and the unconscious and how it's important to ground yourself in that process. Have the grace, like you said, have great. Didn't you just literally even say that? You're like, have grace for yourself, or
Be patient, have
yeah,
grace. Yeah.
yeah. Wow. So, okay. So the next one, these messages are just affirming one another as well. So the next one
Absolutely.
is skull cap with the keyword
Ooh.
stillness,
Oh, are you kidding me?
right? So this one, there's a nice little scorpion on that card too for the Scorpio loves.
Ooh.
So this card astrology is Pluto and Saturn. And I already see hourglasses, which is something that stood out to me in my collective oracle readings, which the shifting, the sands of time. Yeah, things are shifting. The sand's shifting
Yes,
beneath your feet. Okay. Things are moving,
that they
Okay.
are.
All right. So let's see what the guidance is for this. Um, okay. So the storm has passed. You've just weathered or are weathering a storm. Ground deeply into the present moment. If you feel fear, find consolation and stillness as it readapts. The medicine of Scorpion embodies the stillness of darkness, and it assists by accepting sudden change with ease and calm. If you're feeling exhausted, drained, or depleted, this is the time to pause and withdraw to your cave. You are in the process of rebuilding after the storm. Don't rush, reflect, take the time to birth a new structure that supports a new version of yourself.
These cards are crazy. That
Wow.
was so aligned. I mean, my patience card was literally don't rush, let things come
Patience,
through, have
grace,
grace,
have grace for yourself,
stillness.
stillness, like
Wow.
can't make it up, friends. Can't make this stuff up. It's great.
What
I felt last time
amazing.
we did this one other time and it was like the cards were on point with the
Right on
conversation.
point.
It was, yeah, it was incredible. And I think we want to do this regularly with
Yes.
the moon reflection episodes to pull oracle cards to see, what additional messages here, but we know what we have to do, and we got to do
Absolutely.
this work.
Absolutely.
Move or be moved. It is
Yep.
time, my friends. We're strong. We got this. We got to release and let go. Release, let go, be still.
Welcome to the new year.
Yay. Wow. Well, Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you
Thank you.
for joining us. And please feel free to share your dreams with us. You can share them at the innerverse podcast at gmail.com. You can share with us on our Instagram profile, Journey Through the Innerverse. Comment on these videos on Spotify as well. So many ways to engage with us and just share, just to let it go and put it into the safe space.
Absolutely.
Any additional last words, Alexis, before we head out?
No, I think that we ended that on a nice note, and the message is very clear.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone. We will be here this coming Wednesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, for another live chat about dreams. And until then, we hope that you have a beautiful week and you have sweet dreams.
Bye, everybody.
Good night. All right. Wow.
Oh my
I
God, I
could
have to
just
pee
end
so
this.
bad.